Okay, GPS for the Soul, chapter 25, revealing the spark. And so what we're really looking at here is, again, we're going to come back to mission focus, right? The mission focus is getting a solid understanding of what's our job, what's our responsibility here, what are we here to do, right? And understanding that more completely. So God created an entire system of worlds that intentionally hide him, hide his light, right? What's the point? The point is that God's taiva, God's desire, and you can't ask a question on a desire. God wants to be that he should be revealed specifically in a place of the greatest concealment. That's what God wants. So the first order is God has to conceal himself, because I used to say in teaching, the measure of a teacher's impact is when he leaves the room. The kids still behave after he's left the room.
That means you're tired.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because they break through as soon as the timer, right? I had the blessing of a principal who once walked into my 6th grade classroom in Sydney, Australia. And he knocked on the door. I answered the door. He kind of stepped into the doorway, but not further. And he looked in the room, and everyone was out of their desks, and everyone was talking, and just it was And he said, "How do you let the class go like that?" And I looked at him, and then I looked at the classroom from his perspective, and okay, he's perceiving chaos, right? But I said 5, 4, 3. They were seated, silent, looking at me and waiting for instructions before I got to 2.
Mm-hmm.
I looked back at him. He said, "Never mind." And he walked out. I turned back to my class. I said, "Back to work, guys." We had created an environment of trust. An environment of trust that I knew that if I needed their attention, I could have it within seconds. But they also knew that because I could have that, I don't need to. I can let it go. They were all doing the stuff they were supposed to be doing. I don't care if they're talking to each other while they're getting it done. I don't care if they're out of the seats while they're getting it done. As long as they're working on the work, it's okay. So again, what's the intention? What's the intention? God wants a world where he can be revealed in the least likely place, in the most concealed place. And so he has to, mitzamtzam, he has to hide himself from being revealed within the world, in order that we should now have a job to do, that we should have something to work on, right? So what if God's presence, let's take the opposite side. What if God's presence was revealed everywhere with truth? The truth was totally visible, and we could actually feel our godly souls within us, right? So no one is going to do anything inappropriate. No one's going to do anything wrong. Everyone's totally attached. They get it, right? There's no there's no thieves, murderers, evil in the world, because goodness and godliness is revealed. So no one's rebelling because it's obvious. It's there. No one would knowingly, if they could really feel it, would act against God.
Well, because the boss is in the room, there would be no free will.
Exactly. So in order for there to be free will, there has to be this, at least this, what Chase Taub likes to call plausible deniability. There has to be at least this sense that we could say there's no God. We could blame it on something else. It's nature. It's the way the world works. If the sun always rises in the east, it always sets in the west. This is how it is, right? There's some plausible deniability that you don't have to blatantly say, well, obviously that's God, because it's in your face, right? So we have to. So in that, but then you have to ask the question, what's the advantage? What is it that God is looking for in the idea that he has to conceal himself so much? So plausible deniability, free choice, got it. Why? That's the 2-year-old in me speaking. Why? So we've all had that experience of a Sunday matinee. You go into the theater's dark, you watch the movie, the lights go out, the dim lights come on, the show is over, and you step out into bright sunlight, and it's blinding. Right? It's what we call or min hacheshech, the light that comes out of the darkness. That's when it's most obvious. That same light, that same ray of light that's shining here on the Sunday afternoon, if you took that back and you put it in its source, in the sun, it's unnoticeable. It's not even there. Right? A drop of water in the ocean. Go find it. Right? It doesn't exist there. I mean, yes, it certainly exists, but it has no definition. It's the light that comes out of the darkness. That's amazing. That's powerful, right? A candle sitting outside in broad daylight, it doesn't make any light. That same candle in a dark gymnasium with no other lights on, that one candle lights up the room. You can see safely in the farthest corners of the gymnasium from that little candle. So that's where this amazingness stands out, right? So God is mitzamtzem himself. He completely hides himself from us in order that we should be able to reveal him through the darkness. And that's when it's most significant. That's when there's a real accomplishment. So, how do we reveal the godliness that's hidden in this physical world where he's specifically intended to be hidden? How do you find him, right? So we have the necessary tools. The first part is that our godly soul is formed from kedusha, sanctity, holiness. Our animal soul comes from klipas noiga, from the partial concealment, and we have Torah. So with that godly soul, we're attached. We know what we're looking for. We have a sense of it. It's a fascinating thing. Mankind has been looking for a scientific definition of life and death for years, right? But we know this: the life when someone passes is when the neshama leaves the goof, the body. But how do you detect that? And that's more difficult, right? And science hasn't been able to show that yet. But that godly soul that's within us drives us. It moves us. It helps us to recognize and understand things. And the more sensitive we become to that, the more we can perceive. Yeah. I remember when the microwave ovens first came out. Right? Like how does it do that? Like
They were called radars.
These are things we didn't have ways to measure. That 100 years ago we couldn't even measure those type of things. Radio, right? So now that we have more sensitive tools, we can actually sensitize to actually perceive those things. And actually we can use them. We can send messages across the world, right? And television, we can even send pictures across the world. So with the right sensitivity, with the right tools, things can be perceived. So it's our godly soul that helps us perceive godly things. Our animal soul gives us obviously a sense for the animal things as well, but it also gives power. It gives energy. And that's what it's primarily for. And the Torah gives us the means to reveal what we can sense, the means to reveal the godliness, right? God spoke to us at Mount Sinai. There's no other people in the world where you had an entire nation that experienced a godly revelation simultaneously. Close to 2 million people, men, women, children, close to 2 million people simultaneously had experience. And you know what the real miracle is? That we actually agreed on it. We agreed on what happened in that moment, right? So the Torah discusses that the Jewish people saw what we usually hear, and they heard what was usually seen. So the spiritual and the physical were both revealed in that moment. The world lit up. The world lit up. So the power of Torah, emes, truth, the power of Torah truth, is a tool by which we can light up the world. So that's our job. Our job is to use Torah and mitzvahs to reveal the godliness hidden in the world, light up this world with a spiritual spark, and reveal things. So the purpose of the world is to regain that incredible level of revelation that we had at Mount Sinai, and to do so through the Torah and through our mitzvahs, guided by the godly soul that's within us, to a point where God is completely revealed. There were so many miracles that happened in the first Beis Hamikdash that anyone who would go there was no denying God. There were just so many miraculous things on an ongoing basis. So that's where we want to get back to, that point where the whole world reveals the divine light within it. And we do so through our Torah mitzvahs. That's our job, is to reveal the Kedusha, reveal the sanctity that's in this world itself. Now, you could ask the question of why. Part of that answer is that God wanted to share not just the responsibility, but the glory and the reward and the beauty of it. We actually get to be part of God's revealed creation, bring about the godliness and revelation that's in the world, make the world a better place. We get to be a part of that. That's our commandment. That's our mitzvah. That as a chosen people, that's what we're chosen to do, is be partners with God in revealing the godly powers inherent within the physical world. The future revelation depends on what we do here and now. So our reward that awaits us when Mashiach comes, the redemption will not be a prize for what we're doing now, but rather it is a direct outcome of our work today. The Geula, the final redemption, is an outcome, a direct product of what we do. It's not like a salary where you do this and you get that, right? It's a direct outcome of we reveal godliness, and now we get to benefit from the awesome godliness that we have revealed within the world. So ultimately, what are the times of Mashiach? What is that time? That time is basically when God is revealed. Well, the truth of God's infinite light shines forth. The entire world is basking in the brilliance, and spirituality in our physical world is seen. You'll look at the dining room table, and it will reveal the sanctity of the Shabbos meals you've had at the table, the kiddush that you've made, the challah that was blessed on the table, the joy of Shabbos that was at the table, the Shabbos candles. The table will reveal all those things that it was involved in. Right now, we just see a block of wood. But Mashiach's time, you'll see the godliness oozing out of what we put in during this time of Golus. And it's so therefore it's Ma'aseh hu ha'ikar, action's the main thing, because it's the actions that we do, that are actually revealing the godliness hidden, the sparks hidden within the physical world itself. That's the beauty. You know, I like to compare the idea of, for me, I like to have a visual for things. I like to be able to perceive them, right? So my imagination, when I think about like how fast could Mashiach come? Like how fast could that one more mitzvah could tip the whole scale, and we're in, right? What could that look like? So I imagine this dark room, living room, this dark living room where nobody can see anything, and everyone's bumping into each other and bumping into the coffee table. It's a marble coffee table, and
Ouch.
and everyone is yelling and screaming and hollering and upset and angry, and the emotions are high, and it's a balagan. It's a total balagan. Someone flips on the light switch and like, hi, sorry, can I get you a seat? Everything changes in that moment when light reveals what is hidden. The Hasidim and the Mikubalim, they use light always as an example of revelation, because light has the potential to reveal that was just hidden. So in that dark room, the light goes on, and all of a sudden, everybody knows where everyone else is. No one's bumping into each other anymore. Everyone's making room for somebody to find a seat in the living room. Peace automatically happens because the purposes and the confusion of what the conflicts are gone instantly. So there'll be a lot of apologies for what happened in the midst of the darkness, and it won't ever happen again because the lights are on. And that's the concept of Mashiach, because when God's infinite light is actually revealed in the world and we get it, all of a sudden we understand. And how fast? A light switch. The light comes on. We tip the scale, one more mitzvah, and everything gets revealed. So so a summary of the chapter, right? God made a world of spiritual darkness and concealment, a world that we could harness to serve as a vessel for the incredible ultimate revelation of light. And it's our deeds, our mitzvahs during the darkness that actually flip the switch to reveal the godly light that is already inherent in the world. It's already here. It's already there, but it needs to be revealed. And that's the job we have, is to reveal the godliness within the physical world. Questions? Clarifications?